I got mine here. I've got yours there.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I want to keep this to an extent somewhat interactive because I think that's where the benefit really lies. It's more in the interactivity. Otherwise, there's lots of lectures that we've got on YouTube and stuff like that. And what I want to focus on now, I think, because we've just come into the new Gregorian New Year. Not that we celebrate this or that, because I know there's going to be a lot of people that say, well, it's not relevant. But it's relevant from one perspective because we do look at the calendar and we do kind of look at our plans and stuff like that based on the calendar. And what I wanted to talk about in particular is goal setting and making a plan. And this is extremely important for all of us. Because in reality, like if you don't do that, if you don't goal set and if you don't have proper objectives for your life, then life will just go by and it'll be like you are being pushed around in the waves of life, okay? Not being in control of your destiny in that sense. And in fact, what we want to do with setting a plan and objectives and so on is learn how to swim in that context. So the first thing I'll say is this, is that I think the most easy way to plan and to set objectives and goals is using the following categorization. You've got the mind, you've got the body, and you've got the soul. This is the famous tripartite classification, yeah? But you've also got another 3 categories, and I want everyone to memorize them, and we're going to deal with this. And we're going to actually set objectives, and we're going to have this, and you guys are going to tell me what the objectives are, yeah? Which is, you've got yourself as an individual, you've got your family, and then you've got the community. So altogether, how many do you have? You've got 5 actually. Because the individual, I know it's 6 from one perspective, but the individual is counted twice in this case. You know, mind, body, and soul is the individual, right? And then you've got the family and the community. So altogether, you have actually 5. Do you see what I'm saying here? So let me give you an example of my ones. I'm going to be anecdotal with you guys here since we're all getting to know each other and stuff. And I'll tell you how I do it. And then you guys can decide to do it in whatever way you like to do it. And we can move forward. So this is what I do. You guys have seen me walk around with this kind of bag, right? And I've got a pharmacy in here, just in case anyone wants to buy anything. I'm only kidding. But I've also got this book, right? And I've got a few books in here. And this is a journal. I like journals, bro. I like writing things with pen and paper. It's a therapeutic thing for me. I just like to put it, I like to see my own writing on a piece of paper. And on this, okay, in the front page, I've got this weekly accountability chart, okay? And in the top row here, what I have is the activities that I want to partake in on a weekly basis. And these activities that I want to partake on a weekly basis, I set myself targets so that to see if I'm fulfilling those targets or not. So, and those targets will be based on the things that I've just mentioned, the 5 categories that I've just mentioned. So I'll give you an example. One of those things is the Quran. Right? So when I was younger, I started to memorize the Quran. When I was younger, and I'd go into university, go into work and stuff like that. And I was actually memorizing the Quran in my car. That's where I was doing it, you know. And I wasn't doing it haphazardly. I had some level of goal setting. I said, look, I'm just going to do 45 minutes a day, for example. And we'll see where that takes me. But so long as I do 45 minutes a day, then I can feel good about myself. I feel a sense of achievement when I've completed that. And so after year after year after year, it took me a long time, but then you memorize the Quran. One memorizes the Quran. So I memorized about 95% of the Quran in my car, driving from place to place. Do you know what I mean? So we're going to this university, this one. So alhamdulillah, now the Quran, when you memorize, you have to memorize it more than once. I don't know if you've ever been told this or if you've ever been told, someone's ever told you. We memorize it one time, and then after, it's like paint on a wall. So once you memorize it once, what happens with the paint, the first coating dries up. So you have to wait a bit and then you have to put another coating on there. Do you know what I mean? So you still have to keep going over and over the Quran and stuff like that. So I think, I'm giving you one example of one of the things I have. To this day, I put down how much Quran I do on a daily basis. Yeah, and I look at it and I like to have it as a visual representation so I can hold myself to account have I done my daily portion or not? So I'll look at it and say, have I done my daily portion or not? And let's say, for example, if I've done anything less than half an hour, I won't feel a sense of achievement, a sense of happiness, a sense of like accomplishment. So what would you say the Quran fits into what category of the things that I've just mentioned? Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you, brother. What were the categories that I mentioned? No, that's not a category. The categories that I mentioned, I said the individual. Yes? What else did I say?
The soul.
Yeah, okay, so you got the soul. The Quran fits into the soul. But what other categories do I have?
Family, community.
Okay, family and community, fine. But let's start with the individual. What's the individual composed of? Mind, body, and soul. All right, and then you have what? Family and community. Do you see? Because the reason why you put family and community there is because you don't want to live your life as a selfish man. At the end of the day, it's not just about you. It's not about, I want to meet my objectives and my accomplishments and all this kind of. You don't want to live like that. You want to also give back. There needs to be input and there needs to be output. So, all right, Quran, what would it fit into? You said it yourself, the spiritual aspect. Definitely. There's nothing, more powerful than doing the Quran, except for praying on a daily basis. If you don't have a portion of Quran, I feel like if I don't have a portion of Quran on a daily basis, it's like I'm missing something. It's a shifa. It really is like a cure. It's a potent cure. It's a therapy. And also it does stimulate your mind if you're thinking about it. So it kind of fits into two categories, if you really think about it, yeah? All right, so I've got the Quran here as one of my categories. The other category is adhkar. We spoke about that in the morning, which is that you do the adhkar in the morning and the afternoon, and I track down if I have done it. So today I've done it, we all done it together. I'd put down, yes, I've done it. Another one is gym. Now I'm going into what? I'm going into Ajmal territory. But not exactly, but the gym is also there. So I see how many times a week I do gym. And I'll be honest with you, Ajmal, and I know you're gonna not like this, but I only go to the gym like twice a week, on average. Yeah, but I'm talking about just weights. If I do 3 days, remember that time when we done that thing, and it's on my YouTube channel where Ajmal comes and he teaches me how to do like the weights and stuff like that, push day, pull day, and legs. If I could do that split that you taught me, that would be fantastic. That would be an ideal week. But I'll be honest, according to my records, which I have, I've been doing 2 times a week. Like that's been the average. 2 times of weights training a week.
66% there.
66%. It's not good enough, but I can hold myself to account, and you can hold me to account as well. But it's been like that because of the other things I've got on this thing. Yeah, and I'll go to the gym. And I'll do the thing that Ajmal told me to do. It's online. You can see. I think it's very good. The push day, pull day, and the legs. Yeah, it's a good thing we didn't because I was competitive to some extent. But with the legs, I would have been blown out of the water. I would have had to do it with no weights. I would have had to start making excuses.
Yeah, to be fair, you deadlifted a lot. I remember it was good.
Yeah, but if you saw how much I squat, bro, squatting is so horrible for me. It's one of the worst exercises. I hate it. It's horrible. You need to show me the techniques and stuff. We need to do that one. But yeah, so the gym is something I feel like is good. And look, scientifically, bro, there's a lot of stuff about the gym that has come out. Like for example, testosterone. Testosterone is a hormone that is linked inextricably with a man's good mood. Like your positive frame of mind is linked to testosterone. And in fact, there's more evidence that you'll get higher testosterone by doing legs in a gym, for example, than there is by doing, I don't know, martial arts, which is quite surprising, but I feel better when I do that, so I do it. And also, like, you want to have that bit. And I do cardio now a lot as well. In fact, for us, Zahabi, I was having a conversation with him, and he gave me a routine to get my cardio up and stuff like that. And he was suggesting using the air bike. I don't know if you use it, like 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off, that kind of like mad activity. So the gym is there. Don't ask me why, but I've got shadow boxing there. It's one of the things that I have to look at. It's a category for me, like, because I feel like if you want to get good at it, just looking at yourself in the mirror, throwing punches, and then seeing where you're making the mistakes, it actually really does help, and it's a good cardio activity as well. So I got that. So I do research for the Sapiens Institute, right? So I have that, like I have how many hours I do research for a particular thing. And then we go back to grappling now. I do a lot of grappling. That's my main. I like it. I like wrestling. Look, I think that wrestling is the main one. Like freestyle wrestling. If you can get a hold of someone that does that, or you can do freestyle wrestling, or the thing is with this country is that I wanted to do freestyle wrestling competition, but you have to wear those, you know, the spandexes and stuff. You can't. It's haram. It's haram. I got so because what it was is that
I just had this image of you.
That's what you say. I mean, I'm joking. No, but it's haram, so I couldn't do it. But I started off like what happened was when I was 16, 17, I started doing boxing in All Stars Boxing. I don't know if you guys know it, any of you know it, in Harrow Road. Did you know it, yeah? Yeah. You guys live around there? Is it? I live around there as well. Make sure that's not on the camera. Anyway, so I used to go there. We used to have a guy called Mr. Akai. I think he died recently, innit? And so and then I was told that it's haram to hit the face and all this kind of stuff. So I started getting into wrestling. I still did like some touch sparring and all that stuff. Nothing too heavy, nothing too crazy. When I went into wrestling, there was this club, Iranians. They were Iranians. They're from Iran. And I remember going. I was 19 years old, 18, 19, and it was the first time I was coming in with like a boxer stance. And this was still when the UFC was kind of very early days. We didn't know about any of this. Like, I didn't watch a lot of the fights. And these small men were taking me down, and I felt very embarrassed by it. I was like, why is this small Iranian guy, 65 kilo, he's like picking me up, and I'm like, do you know what I mean? So I realized I don't want to be put in this position again. So every week I'd go, and these Iranians would pick me up, and I was like embarrassed and humiliated. And I realized that this boxing thing is not the one, because it's so limited. What does it mean if I can't knock this guy out with one punch? He's going to pick me up like that and drop me on the floor. I felt completely helpless that this guy who was so much smaller than me can pick me up like this. So I started going more and more it was freestyle wrestling. I started doing more and more of it. And I realized the fadl, the virtue of this sport. It really is. So I started getting good at it a little bit, But being tall is not necessarily an advantage. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm tall, and being tall is not the best advantage in freestyle wrestling. And then I started going with the competitors, like, the Olympians and stuff, bro. Wallahi. I've never felt so dominated by anybody in my life. There was this guy, his name is Emir. It's not the Emir that is in Legions, there's another Emir. He was an Asian champ. And he was like an Olympic contender or something, and he was Asian champion of freestyle wrestling. And I remember he came to a club, and we were going, I was trying my best just to avoid getting taken down from him. But he would always take me down. And it was violent, and I just felt his body on me. And I thought, if this guy wanted to, he could probably kill me. He could take my life. Like if we were in a in a bad environment, like if we were in an alleyway, this guy could take my life. I started to try and persuade myself, maybe I can put him in a triangle choke or this and that. Forget about it. Forget about that. Because if he's gonna come with that power on me and he just starts doing that stuff, khalas, I'm done. So there is a book written by Al-Asyuti, who was actually an Egyptian scholar. Asyut is a Upper Egypt region, so it's kind of close to Sudan. It's Saidi, effectively. It's like the darker Egyptians, if you've seen them. But he died in 9/11, and I know the CIA are here, whatever, or the FBI, or not this, or CID, whatever they're called, yeah. 9/11, not that 9/11, 9/11 AH. And he wrote a book about al-musara' ila al-musara', yeah? Al-musara' ila al-musara', which effectively means hastening to wrestling. And he put inside of it, this is so ahead of its time, because we didn't realize this about if we know about martial arts, we didn't realize that there were really 3 top contenders of martial arts until 1994 to 2000 and whatever it is, 2024, which, effectively, this is going to sound controversial, but it's freestyle wrestling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Muay Thai. These emerged to be the most effective types of martial arts in the world. Maybe karate is in there, but it could be, because you have Wonder Boy Thompson, you have McGregor, he's got karate stance. A lot of these guys, even Page from the UK, a lot of them have shown, Machida has shown karate behavior, like using karate and stuff like that. GSP has shown a lot of karate stuff. So karate is in there, but Wing Chun and Kung Fu and all that stuff is a waste of time. Has been proven to be a waste of time. Yes, I'm sorry to say. It's an experiment that's been done for 30 years. Like, why would you, if it was true that you get the have you seen these videos? You get the Wing Chun master going against MMA guy. I've never seen them win. I've never seen it. If they were so good, why they keep losing? Why they keep losing? Boxing is actually very good, to be honest. By itself, it cannot stand in that kind of environment. So, as an effective martial art, these are the 3 most effective martial arts. So I put them in there because I don't want to reinvent the wheel. Anyway, I discovered that wrestling is a very important thing. And what Asyuti does in his book is he collects all the hadiths to do with wrestling. And he says that, like for example, in one of the battles, the way the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would choose the youngsters to come into, the young men to come into wrestling, to come into the war, is through wrestling matches. He'd see, because the thing is, if you do wrestling, it's not just about it's about the toughness, the resilience that it builds within you. Trust me, it's a very, very tough sport. BJJ is so slow and this and that, and hold that. Sorry to say, Annie, it's not. You can be a very dangerous BJJ guy, but wrestling is high pace, boom, 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 boom. Even the drills it's a different level. So yeah, I put that in there. And I think that if you have access to that, a lot of you guys have got much more favorable bodies for wrestling. I mean, Ajmal, if he did 6 months of wrestling, he'd be one of the most dangerous men in his areas. Do you know what I mean?
Wrestling is better for a short person.
I don't know. It's hard to make that judgment, because if you look at the Olympics, it's the best place to look at, right? You have to differentiate between 2 things: Greco-Roman and freestyle wrestling. There's 2 types of wrestling, right? And there have been a lot of tall guys that have been Greco-Roman specialists and stuff, but not too tall. Like 6'7" is seen as basketball territory, not wrestling territory. Do you know what I mean? There's a guy whose name is Karalin. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him. He was quite tall, 6'2", 6'3", Greco-Roman specialist. If you check him out, he's a beast. He was a Russian guy. Kept beating everyone. But wrestlers, I say, like anything between 5'8" and 6'2" is a great height. It's about how you are, like mesomorphic or even endomorphs. They do very well in wrestling. But it doesn't mean that tall people can't wrestle. John Jones is a very tall man with very, very big reach, and he's excellent wrestler in the MMA context. But he wouldn't do well outside of that context. But what I'm saying is that it's a great sport to do. Trust me. BJJ is a really good sport for some, because you can compete. Wrestling, you can't compete. You can't wear spandex. In this country, you can compete in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because you can wear the gi, or you can wear the the no gi. Both of it is fine. Do you know what I mean? So you can actually compete at a very high level. And the good thing about BJJ is you can have a smaller man effectively disable a bigger man if he just knows a few things. Heel hooks, he knows how to choke. Marcelo Garcia and these guys, they're very, very, very good, and they were like 5 foot something, I don't know. Even Muay Thai, one of the best Muay Thai specialists of all time is San Chai. Do you know how tall he is? He's 5'6". He's 5'6". He's had 300 fights. He's 5'6". So it's not to do with body shapes like that, man. You can really, with whatever you have, you can get to a really good level. But you have to do something. Like I said before, you have to do something, because if you don't do this stuff, you're going to expose yourself. Like, some really bad things can happen. And it's not about winning the fight. Like, anyone can lose. And in fact, everyone does lose. If you look at the heavyweight division of almost any promotion, they've all lost. They've all lost. I don't know of any, like only John Jones had 1 fight and that doesn't count. But if you look at the UFC, the heavyweight division, every heavyweight has lost. That's a fact. The Bellator, I think every heavyweight has lost, at least once. So everyone, it's not about winning or losing. Muhammad Ali lost, Tyson lost, all these. It's about engaging. And now I've seen more and more of the people freeze, run, not do the right thing. And it's a real shame, akhi. It's a real shame, and especially when we have all these outlets and stuff, and we have all these opportunities in the United Kingdom. So I know I'm laboring the point here, but I think this is so important for us moving forward as a Muslim community, yeah? So yeah, I put grappling in there, and I put a bit of kickboxing in there as well, because you need to know how to strike. The thing is, if you do too much grappling and you get punched in the face, you get shocked. You cannot be shocked if you get punched in the face. You need to be able to take that. And by the way, leg kicks are the most dangerous. If you've never experienced a leg kick in your life and you're experiencing it for the first time, you're likely to lose that fight. In fact, I would say 95% you're going to lose that fight. That's how bad it is. If you've never had a leg kick in your life and you're shin and in your leg, and the guy has had it and he's given it, and he hits you with it, you're going to lose. You're going to lose the fight. So you need to, because it's a shocking pain. It's like you've been stabbed in your leg. And if you've never encountered, it's the first time you're encountering that, is in the streets, that why would you give someone that advantage? It's irresponsible. Don't you think that's irresponsible? Imagine now you're walking with your wife in the street, and this guy, he's been Muay Thai or he's been kickboxing, yeah? And he's been getting it in the leg, boom, 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 and he's giving it in the leg. And now you're facing him. You've done only boxing, for example. You've done boxing only. So you start jabbing him and punching him. He delivers one leg kick, and all of a sudden you think, what the hell is this? Because that's how you feel. Because your leg is not conditioned. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so irresponsible. Why don't you go into a controlled environment and work on that? Because, anyway, so this is the physical side. That's what I do, right? This is physical stuff I have on a weekly basis. And then I have, obviously, some of my research things that I also do, like the PhD things and whatever. But then I teach my kids Arabic, where's the boy? But I teach my kids Arabic and stuff like that. I have that in there. So I look at how many times I give them Arabic lessons on a weekly basis. I take them swimming, for example. That's like a physical activity that I do with my children. And the Prophet, Umar ibn Khattab told us, teach your children how to swim. Where's the brother that was talking about the mountain yesterday? I don't know, is it? But the mountains actually, it's important to learn how to move around in terrain and stuff like that. And to swim, and it is actually important, because if you don't have control, like imagine if you're thrown into a sea, or you're walking and your child jumps into the water, and now you have to save your child's life, and you don't know how to because you can't even swim. What are you going to do? You're going to watch your child drown? Why have we never thought about this? Like, it's we're living in a world now, we're living on an island effectively, where there's lakes, there's rivers, there's seas. You're going to travel. One day your kid could fall into the water, and your wife is screaming, go and save, and you can't save because you can't even swim. And the kid can't swim and you can't swim. So what the hell is going on here? Why didn't we invest in swimming, for example? So yeah, I do swimming with the kids, and it's a very good activity, very fun. When you get into the water, it's a different kind of dynamic, to be honest with you. So these are just some of the things that I track on a weekly basis. So what I do is, effectively, I track. So I've given you my template of what I track on a weekly basis. If we can, it'll take 5 minutes, yeah? What I would like you guys to do is, using this template, create your own thing. Okay, so on a weekly basis, what kind of things do you want to do? And remember what the categories. You've got mind, body, and soul, that's the individual, and then you've got family and the community. And if you don't have all those 5 categories, then you're deficient somewhere, so you have to think about it. So work with the person next to you. I'll give you 5 minutes, and then I'm going to feed back from you guys to see what kind of thing, because maybe some person will say something, and then I'll get an idea. Or you'll say something, he'll get an idea. Do you know what I mean? So we're brainstorming together now. 5 minutes with the person next to you. Fill in those 5 categories, things that you have to do on a weekly basis, and then we'll come back and speak about it, inshallah.